call this meeting of the Lammersville Unified Board of Education, regular meeting of September 16th to order at 7 o'clock. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Ann Bonilla.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Sharon Lempel.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Sanita Jithendra.
Here.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
I'll move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Having a first and second. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The agenda is approved. Committee reports. District Advisory Committee, Trustee Lampel.
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. District English Language Advisory Committee, Trustee Bonilla.
Our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, October 22nd. Otherwise, nothing to report.
Thank you. Education Committee, nothing to report. Facilities Committee, Trustee Clements.
Our next virtual meeting will be on September 24th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Trustee Bonilla.
Nothing to report. We're currently just reviewing policies.
Thank you. Safety Committee, Trustee Balzerini.
We met today virtually, very productive meeting. We had a presentation from the Community Services District and their consultant regarding traffic safety within the CSD's area. And we also had a lengthy presentation about what the sites are doing in response to COVID and preparing for the next phase of trying to resume normalcy at school. Anything else, President Pombo?
No, I think you hit all the keys. It was indeed a productive meeting, I thought. Item G, wellness, that's mine. And our next virtual meeting is October 21st at 3:30. Moving on to governing board reports. Madam Student Trustee.
I have a couple things to report. I just want to keep the board updated on all of our school events. So currently we're in our first virtual Spirit Week this week, which was planned by our high school's leadership class. And we also have many more events that we are in the process of planning to make this school year as engaging as it would have been in person. And one of those events is a virtual club fair where our freshmen are introduced to all of our new clubs, and returning students can sign up again and new clubs can be reinstated. And we're just trying to get through these uncertain times together, and we're working on finding more engaging virtual activities.
Very nice, thank you. Trustee Bonilla.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Lampel.
I was lucky enough to have a wonderful visit at Cordis, so I could go on a tour of our new school. I also had the opportunity to watch some teachers in action with online teaching. I'm so impressed with what they're doing and the hours that they're putting in to plan. The funny thing is there's a lot of similarity and there's a lot of differences. The similarity, when you see a group of kids and there's all these little boxes on the screen in front of you and they're excited about something and they're all trying to talk at the same time, just like a classroom. But the way our teachers, the classroom management that they've developed so quickly, and the principal was right there to address any concerns that they had. You know, it's a brand new school. There's always little bumps. And they were all working together. They were all happy to be there. It was a great visit. I highly suggest if you folks have a chance to get over there and see what's going on. Beautiful campus, beautiful. That's my report.
Thank you. Trustee Balzerini.
I continue working with CSBA virtually regarding legislation and with everything that's going on. Wanted to make sure the board is aware that Tuesday, September 29th, we're doing a all board member Zoom meeting for Stanislaus and San Joaquin County. The entire region, we're having 3 separate meetings so we can try and get all board members or as many board members that want to participate. But Dennis Myers will be present to give an update on legislation, where we're at. And again, it was pretty informative. We did it once before, and it's been about a month and a half since we did it. So we're doing it again. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Clements.
Nothing to report, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I too have nothing to report. Receiving of public comments. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, in-person public comments are not possible at this time. Persons wishing to make public comments may use the virtual speaker card that is linked from each agenda, and your comments will be read during public comments portion of the meeting or when the appropriate agenda item comes up. Superintendent Nicholas, are there any public comments?
Yes, we have 4. I have 3 on a sheet, and then I'm gonna have to read one off of the computer as it just came in. The first one, Melissa Gonzalez. Hello. First of all, I would like to give an enormous shout out and praise to our new vice principal at Cuesta, Mr. Jason Strickland, for being new. He's incredibly involved with everything and is very helpful. We are lucky to have him. Secondly, since we meet the required minutes Monday through Thursday, we can revisit Friday's schedule for LVLA. Also, sending out a survey to LVLA families and to see how they are doing so you guys can get a feel for how kiddos are doing and see if any needed changes need to be made. Thank you. Second one is from Nick Lanier. President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. I was disappointed to learn that our district plans on cutting in half the amount of money that is reimbursed to our new teachers in the induction program. This is especially disconcerting when many neighborhood districts fully cover the cost, and our district traditionally only pays half the amount. Our new teachers are mandated to take part in induction, adding dozens more work hours to their plate. They are lowest on the salary schedule, and the added financial burden of induction is substantial. To take away much of that potential relief makes our new teachers feel unsupported by their employer. We understand the budget shortfalls we face due to the state's hold harmless provision and know that cuts are necessary in some areas, but considering all the challenges we educators are facing this year, we don't believe that the place to cut right now is to our newest and least experienced employees. Thank you. Nick Lanier, President, Lammersville Teachers Association. Tara Perez, will Lammersville School District be seeking a waiver to allow in-person instruction for elementary grades? And from Do High, dear members of the board, while we have a special needs child that requires more help and attention, we also have risk adults in the house. Please ensure that any discussions or decisions take into account more screening and preventative measures for the children to avoid further spread of COVID virus. If more cannot be done to avoid spreading, then distance learning should be kept in place as it has a better chance of stopping COVID. Mr. President, that's all of the public comments.
Thank you. I trust that district staff will reach out to the people that submitted those comments and answer their questions.
Correct.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, consent items for consideration. Governing board meeting minutes, regular meeting of September 2nd, contracts under $50,000, ratification of budget revision of warrants lists from August 1st to August 31st, ratification of new hires for the 2020-2021 school year, acceptance of donation, and early graduation petitions. Would anyone on the board like to pull any of those items for further discussion? Do I have a
Move to
motion?
approve consent items.
Thank you. Having a first and second, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Trustee Lampel, would you like to do the honors?
Absolutely. We are very happy to welcome Amy Cannon as a new self-contained classroom teacher in Lammersville. Welcome to our Lammersville family.
And I apologize, I failed to mention that the donation was a $1,070 donation for the purchase and installation of a buddy bench at Lammersville Elementary School from Eagle Scout Ethan Rudda. Moving on to item 8, district administrative reports, superintendent's report.
Yeah, I have a couple of brief announcements, and then I have some important information that was gathered as a result of the county superintendent's meeting late last week. So first of all, on the good news front, our district is a Golden Bell finalist in the safety area. This Thursday, members of the safety committee representing staff in this board will be going through the verification process. Once verified, our finalist will go from like a finalist to a winner, as long as we can verify the things that everyone knows we already do. So I wanted to congratulate the board. So I hope to send a good email to you guys soon with verification for a 4th Golden Bell Award in the last 6 years. Also
Please
on,
thank the staff that took the time to write it.
I will
Absolutely.
share congratulations as well. This Friday, September 18th, we will be sending out a survey to multiple stakeholders and groups representing students, teachers, staff, and parents. We are gathering information to assist in improving our services and instructional support for all. One of the things we promised we would do is review our programs at quarter/trimester. So this survey is intended to gather information, hear what's working for folks, and if there's something that we need to tighten up or improve or provide some additional support, we hope to be able to do so. And then I have a PowerPoint that goes along with the information. So last Thursday at the county superintendent's meeting, Dr. Maggie Park was the featured speaker, and she gave us, all 14 county school districts and the county superintendent and his team, updates for the California guidelines that were recently released related to COVID-19. One of the things that she said is, based on the new guidelines and positive data trends, a door has opened for each district in the county to conduct an analysis based on the guidelines of the potential for expanding on-site student instruction and access to, or increase access to services, again, within the tight parameters that we could do so. So I wanted to speak briefly about the blueprint update, some data trends, and some potential shifts in practices in our district over the coming months. I wanted to review our strategy to be the tortoise in the parable, the tortoise and the hare. There were 3 important clarifications that I think are very important for the board and community to be aware of. I wanted to give a review on what we're currently providing at our sites in terms of student services, and a brief review of the planning that's going on behind the scenes. So first and foremost, the slide that just was put up is the tier framework from the guidelines. It's a 4-tiered, color-based framework based on statistics in 2 particular areas where you want to move from purple to red to orange to yellow. These guidelines are the basis for the blueprint for a safer economy, which is the new guidelines title. There are 2 significant changes which open the door to expanding of on-site instruction. One is based on small group cohorts, and the second is the ability through a complicated waiver process to allow TK6 on-site instruction. The 2 statistical metrics that are being used to make these determinations are a reduction from the original 5 to two, which are case positivity rate and new case rate per 100,000 county residents. The current status of San Joaquin County is purple. This is the worst and most restrictive tier. However, new data is coming forward, and the door is potentially opening if the data trend in a good direction continues for our county to move from the purple tier to the red tier. And if this were to happen, it would open the door for some considerations for change. So the reason why is the case positivity rate in our county has fallen over the past few weeks. It was when the original data trend line was 11.3, dropped to 9.1, dropped to 7.1% as of yesterday, Tuesday, September 15th. This is important because every Tuesday in the new system, they update the numbers. Second, the new case per 100,000 individuals has also dropped from 16.6 per 100,000 to 12.6 to 8.8 per 100,000 as of yesterday, Tuesday, September 15th. So this is on the governor's page, this is the state of California based on the four-tier colored framework. Most of the populated areas of California are still in the purple, though some have moved into the red. To the right of the state map with all the colors is a county by county map, and the purple in the middle there is San Joaquin County, and you can see that we are still purple. One of the things that Dr. Maggie Park, the public health official in charge of COVID for the county, stated was that if the trend continue and the data continue to drop, we were getting close to the benchmark line of moving from purple to red. And it was her projection, though not a prediction, that it was possible that in October, if the data would continue down, that the purple to red move is a possibility. There's also a possibility, and we also discussed that it's possible that the positive trend could be reversed based on a holiday spike if county citizens were not practicing proper behavior around gatherings during the Labor Day weekend. We saw a spike after Memorial Day and after 4th of July. So we're looking forward to next Tuesday's data coming out, because we will be able to see if the trend continues or if some gathering misbehaviors would create an upward flow. So again, a move from purple to red is a possibility as soon as October. And we hope that there's not a holiday spike based on Labor Day weekend. So we will continue to monitor the data. Now, over the period of the last few months, I've been talking regularly about the parable around the tortoise and the hare, and that the tortoise wins the race. So what I can say now is with the new framework and improving trends in data, the dynamics in our county are changing rapidly. But we want to, as staff, recommend that we continue the tortoise approach and take a prudent and methodical look at how we can best provide instruction and education to our students in a safe manner. So yesterday we received a letter from the county and public health related to small group cohorts for K-12 and more information around TK6 waiver process. And so what I can tell you is, based on the conversation with the county SUPs late last week, is that all districts are working on small group cohorts targeted to groups of students who need additional support, K-12, in different ways, shapes, and forms, as is our district. Dr. Saylor, our Director of Special Education, will be presenting an info and discussion, the basis for our plans for cohort models to support our special education students this evening. TK6 waivers are very complicated undertakings, and it's a complicated process to get public health approval. However, each county district is looking at the waiver process from a different perspective. There are districts that are being very aggressive and going as quickly as possible towards a waiver, and there are districts that have stepped back and say, we want to wait and see the data solidify and ensure that we don't rush into something that we regret. So for the aggressive district, Dr. Park is currently accepting and approving TK6 waivers. Yesterday, 17 public or private school districts received approval for waiver applications. All but one of those waiver applications came from private or religious schools. And the basis for public health to approve that is that the new cases per 100,000 have fallen, and the case positivity has dropped to 7.1%, which is right on the precipice of moving from purple to red. The first public school district to apply for a waiver in our county is Ripon Unified, and they have chosen to move forward in that manner. Other county districts, in particular small and rural districts, have indicated they are intending to submit a waiver soon. No timeline was given to that, and the models that they plan to implement are unknown. But if approved, it seemed like the superintendents were leaning towards a hybrid model. The larger districts in our county were mixed about whether to take the course of action towards a waiver. Some were thinking about doing some targeted work, others were choosing not to do it at all, and others were thinking about designing a waiver but not implementing it until they were more confident with the safety measures and the data. So we will continue to monitor all those approved private schools and religious schools, and also keep an eye on our neighbor over here to the east, Ripon Unified, and how things go in terms of if they get a number of cases or if they have any good safety information that they can share with us. The next, I'd like to present and explain three very important clarifications that are resulting from the new guidelines and affirmed by County Public Health Dr. Maggie Park. But I also want to provide this caveat that everything here is subject to change, as all of this has changed over the last 2 weeks. So number one, within the waiver system, there was an expectation placed by the state that teachers within a waiver cohorts be tested every 2 months. And once a waiver is approved, that was the expectation and continues to be the expectations. However, a word from the state is that this expectation is likely to be eliminated in the near future. So again, the rule and expectation still exists, but it looks like it's going to be eliminated. Number two, public health clarification. Once a waiver is approved for TK6 instruction, there is no requirement that those districts or schools have to start in a hybrid model. This was originally believed to be the expectation that all schools with a waiver do the hybrid. But according to Public Health this week, the schools with waivers can have 100% of their students TK6 on campus. But this is a choice. So this was a shift in what was thought to be the expectation from the guidelines. And then the third important clarification is once school districts in red counties receive that shift from purple to red, schools can reopen in all grades without a waiver. And that was a clarification, again, that was not clear when the original guidelines came out. So again, it is possible when the county goes from purple to red that some districts might look to do a very aggressive reopening, but more information for that will come. It didn't seem that that was going to be the case by any of the districts in the conversation on Thursday, with the exception of Ripon Unified, who is looking at a TK6 model. So we will continue to monitor and plan for an eventual shift. It is inevitable that at some point that the county will have the opportunity to shift to red from purple, and we are going to continue to monitor all the actions of our local districts and follow the guidelines in public health. So what are we doing right now as a district? So currently on our school sites, we are providing in-person services to students. Some of those include one-to-one occupational therapy, one-to-one psychological services, one-to-one speech services, one-to-one student in-person testing, LPAC testing for English learners, one-to-one for younger students, small group for older students. One-to-one students who are not engaged in distance learning are being brought on campus for in-person support and inspiration, and that's being done by site. We are providing childcare for our teachers and staff, and we have approximately 50 students on our site across the district daily to support our teachers and staff's needs. And we are doing sports conditioning by each of our athletic teams. I was also informed today by the SJCOE that the special education classes that we host, they run the programs within our hosted classrooms, will resume on October 12th. This will be conducted at 5 different elementary sites for a total of 8 total classes. And our custodial class will be supporting that following our district cleaning protocols from our logistics committee. So that is news from today. So in terms of our planning, our district team is currently not working on a waiver. We are working on presenting high quality instruction for our distant learning models, and we are planning for different cohort groups to bring them on campus and provide them under the guidelines additional supports with in-person instruction. This is important to note. If we rush, one of the provisions in the guidelines is that if 3 cases of student COVID appear on a school site within a 14-day period, the school will be shut down. And a very extensive contact tracing activity will occur, and that the school won't be allowed to open until all the cases have been cleared, and we need to have a county Department of Public Health support and approval to do so. So on the one end, it seems exciting to try to get back to normal quickly. On the other end, for people that go out too quickly, there is a high likelihood that COVID cases could end up shutting down a program that started prematurely. So our approach is to be prudent. It does not make, let me say it this way, because the county passed some thresholds does not mean we should immediately rush to bring back 100% of our students or to rush into a hybrid model. Safety of students and staff must be considered, and this is a very, very important decision. So I'll hearken back to the tortoise wins the race, and we intend to continue to make recommendations to the board about being and following a prudent course. But when the county moves to red, whether that's October or somewhere months down the road, we will have some choices to make. And so, again, our position is that rushing while in purple or early placement in red is simply not a good idea. There's too many factors changing. There's too much newness and lack of clarity on the new guidelines. And even the county public health officials do not express that they have full command of all of the different nuances and expectations from the state. So the specific steps that we're looking to do under the cohort model approval in the guidelines is to start with our special education students' needs, pivot quickly to our English learners and struggling students, and prepare for the hybrid pivot for the families that did not choose LVLA or the high school online pathway. We feel that there will be a time when data consistently shows that it makes sense instructionally and in terms of our safety protocol systems. And when that comes, we will be prepared to bring a plan to the board for approval, and we will be ready to recommend a hybrid pivot when the data says it's safe. So in conclusion, staff continues to recommend that we stay the prudent course as we have been on since March and when COVID became part of our new reality. We will continue to put out information as it becomes available. We will continue to expand opportunities for on-site instruction and support for our students who need it most, and this will be done under the state guidelines and tied to our small group cohort models, which are approved in the guidelines. And finally, when the time comes and after board approval, we will shift to a hybrid model for the families who choose it, but we will do so taking the proper time and to do it well. And so, Mr. President, that is my presentation.
I would just like to say that as much as I want our kids and our teachers and our staffs back in the classrooms, I think we need to be cautious and wait until it's safe to do so. And I understand that it is difficult both physically and emotionally and socially on our students to be learning from home, sticking them in school for a few days and then having to start all over again and close the schools down and go back to distance learning, I don't think would be good for any of them either. So my opinion is we continue to take a cautious approach and move forward when the county says it's prudent to do so. Further questions or comments from the board? Yes, Trustee Balzerini.
I just wanted to mention, based on our safety meeting today, while the district might be taking the tortoise approach, I will say that staff is definitely the hare when it comes to planning and being ready for whenever that decision is made. That being said, has the union given any sort of statement whether they would like us to seek a waiver or not? Because the last I heard, that was the furthest thing from their minds. And from my work with CSBA, I know the California Teachers Association does not want teachers to go back to school until it is declared safe to do so by the state. Has our union made a statement?
We don't have a formal statement. What I can say is that we've had informal conversations with them, and we do have an MOU related to instruction and such. But we would definitely have to work with our associations, both CSEA and in particular LTA, in terms of what a hybrid would look like. And if we are bringing back cohorts of students, there would be a time when teachers would be on campus. So we are not in the dark on this. No, so we have some work to do in that area, but we wanted to present the information as it came forward last Thursday and as it continues to come forward to the board to make sure that the direction and the communication was clear before we really waded into a deeper conversation about what the expectations were and such.
Well, and just to echo some of President Pombo's, some of your comments, I mean, I agree that we shouldn't go back until safe to do so. And I'm the first one that I want kids back. The damage that's being done is I'm very, very, very concerned. But that being said, we need to do this the right way. And I don't think that a petition is the right way to go. I know I've received emails from parents as well, but it's not something that we can do at this time, I believe.
I don't think it's something we should get into lightly. Yes, Trustee Clements.
I would echo both President Pombo and Trustee Balzerini's comments and would amplify it. So I totally think the right answer is the tortoise approach as opposed to the hare. And I'm sure we've all seen the news from other states that have said, hey, it's okay to send the students back. And then the teachers say, we don't feel safe. And so they resign or retire early or whatever. And so you've got students in the classroom, which is what the parents want, but you don't have teachers that, you don't have teachers in there with them. And that, so we have to be in lockstep with our teachers, and our teachers have to feel safe and all of that before we can make a move. This is not something that the board or even the district can just do. We have to do it carefully.
I believe Trustee Bonilla had something.
I agree with everyone's comments. Being prudent and cautious is important, both for the health and safety of our staff and teachers and the students. I did have a question about our small groups that are coming on campus. Is there any plan for that, for when those are going to start up, or?
So Dr. Saylor is giving a presentation in a few minutes, starting
Right.
with the special education cohort, the basis for our planning on that.
Okay.
And that's where we're starting.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Trustee Lampel.
I agree with everyone else that we are taking the absolute correct approach. It would be more damaging, as you said, President Pombo, to the students' education to call the kids back into school and then a couple of weeks later have to close school down. That would just be an additional disruption to them, and we don't want to move too fast. Somebody mentioned what other states are doing. If you look at what Israel did, they brought everybody back to school, and now the entire country is in a 2-week lockdown because the disease started to spread astronomically. And we don't want to do that. We want to keep people safe. We need to consider what our parents want, what our teachers want, what our classified staff wants, and to rely on staff recommendations as they are the experts and are living this every day. So I agree with all of my colleagues that we are taking the correct route. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Moving on to item B, enrollment report. Dr. Nicholas.
Now, our current enrollment is 6,414 students. I did not do the calculation for what we're not being funded by related to hold harmless. I'll have that in the next one.
But it is in the hundreds, correct?
It was 238 last week. I would say we're somewhere still in the ballpark of that.
That doesn't feel like hold harmless to me.
The
Feels
fight is
more
not
like hold hostage.
Do you have an idea about how much more that is than what we finished in May, the enrollment?
I believe we're up over 300 students, of which the shift from SB 98 to SB 820 paid for a third of it, and it didn't pay for 238 of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, quarterly report, Williams uniform complaints, April 2020 to July 2020.
We have none.
Thank you. Item D, district maintenance and operations report.
Good evening, Board President Pombo, trustees. I will once again be giving the report in lieu of Mr. Legrand. Custodial staff has been working on keeping the sites clean and sanitized. Both the day and the evening staff are focused on cleaning all the touch points, the restrooms, and around the campus. The operations staff are delivering books and other learning materials to the school sites, stocking up on PPE items at all the sites as needed, picking up extra furniture and taking it to the warehouse and storing at the warehouse. And then yesterday, the staff picked up our second allotment of PPE from the San Joaquin County Office of Education. The maintenance staff has been working on work orders. On Thursday, September 3rd, we had a fire inspection at Wickland, which we passed. And then on Friday, the 4th, we had a fire inspection at Cuesta, where there were 3 issues. There were some storage issues to correct in the kinder wing, which have already been corrected. Flow valves issues in the NPR and the library buildings, they're already corrected. There's nothing to repair. That was an operator error issue. The reinspection is tomorrow afternoon. On Monday the 14th, we had fire sprinkler inspections at the district office, Cohorts, and PDC. They all passed. And on Friday the 4th, Turner demoed the broken concrete at the pool deck at the Mountain House High School. The northwest corner of the deck was cracked around the solar support pole. We are claiming this is a warranty item and the work has not been completed yet. Jimmy's been involved in the Lammersville modernization project. And on Wednesday the 9th, he walked the site with Bernie and Wes to discuss plans for the kitchen and the rest of the school site. And this morning, he walked the entire campus with the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers. On Tuesday the 8th, he attended a Zoom meeting with me to discuss our solar project with the attorneys and with the contractors. This afternoon, he attended the District Safety Committee meeting, gave a report at the committee meeting. He provided the committee with the district PPE stockpile at the warehouse and what our counts are for PPE. And that concludes Mr. Legrand's report. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions or comments by the board? Thank you, Associate Superintendent Harrison.
Thank you.
Moving on to action items. Item A, consider approval of the 2020-2021 inter and intra-district transfer requests.
So moved.
Second.
You're on mute, Sharon, so Colin got it. Having a first and second, student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of 2020-2021 Learning Continuity Attendance Plan. Staff report?
This was presented over the last few months, and in particular last board meeting. We want to thank Associate Superintendent Harrison, Assistant Superintendent Sherburne, Directors Boostill and Saylor for their efforts in putting this plan together for the state.
I'll move for approval of the 2020-2021 Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan.
Second.
Having a first and second, is there further discussion by the board?
Other than to say thank you to district staff and board members that were involved in the preparation of that document.
Indeed. Having a first and second, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, consider approval to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing regarding the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional material.
So
So
moved.
Second.
Second.
Having a first and second, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned to public hearing.
We presently do not have any comments on the public hearing. We'll give it a couple more seconds. And there are still no public comments on the hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing and
Second.
return to regular session.
I think Colin got the second. Having a first and second, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now returned to regular session. Item F, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 2021-03 regarding sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve governing board resolution number 20-21-03 regarding the sufficiency of textbooks or instructional materials.
Second.
Having a first and second, student preferential vote?
Aye.
Having a first and second, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini,
Aye.
Sharon Lempel,
Aye.
Ann Bonilla,
Aye.
David Pombo,
Aye.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Item G, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 20-21-04, approving the annual appropriations limits for the 2019, 2020, and 2020-2021 GAN limits. Staff report?
We do this annually. It's associated with the tax and are following an appropriate set of protocols associated with appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Sharon beat you by a hair, Colin. Having a first and second, student preferential vote?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Aye.
Colin Clements,
Aye.
Ann Bonilla,
Aye.
Sharon Lempel,
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Moving on to item H, consider approval of the 2019, 2020 unaudited actuals year-end financial statements. Staff report.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Assistant Superintendent Grijalva and her team in the business office. This is essentially a statement on shaking of the tree and whatever fruits left over from last year is collected and organized.
I'll move for approval of certifying the 2019-2020 unaudited actuals year-end financial statements.
Second.
Any discussion by the board? Other than to thank staff for their hard work?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Having a first and a second, student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item I. Consider approval of contracts with non-public schools for academic and behavioral support services for the 2020-2021 school year and the 2021 extended school year. Staff report.
Yes, these non-public school support services support our special education student needs.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve contracts with non-public schools for academic and behavioral support services for the 2020-2021 school year and the 2021 extended school year. Spectrum Center, $102,363.60, and Point Quest Education CV LLC, one student A, $58,925, and student B, $54,000.
Second.
Thank you. Having a first and second. Is there any further discussion by the board? Student preferential vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10, information and discussion items. Item A, first reading of updated board policies and administrative regulations. Staff report.
This is the first read. If there's any questions or statements or emails the board wants to send to get anything clarified, please let us know.
Questions or comments by the board?
Just a thank you to district staff for hammering through yet another batch.
District staff and the committee. Thank you. Moving on to item B, Mountain House High School tennis courts. Staff report.
Yeah, Associate Superintendent Harrison's going to step up, but essentially at the last board meeting, Trustee Lampel brought up this topic about public access and a potential for a streamlined consideration for access of the community to the tennis courts. And Mr. Harrison's done some background work.
Welcome.
President Pombo, trustees. So I was tasked with getting some background information for facility use for the tennis courts. The tennis courts do have a place in the facility use rental agreement handbook. Those courts can be used by the public for a fee structure of $11.25 and $15 an hour for tiers 2A and 2B, and then for $65 an hour for market value for a rental of the facility. Now, use of that facility rental comes with a $33.13 per hour fee for custodials, and that's a 2-hour minimum for cleaning, setup, unlocking, and locking the facility. Some of the other considerations that we may want to consider as we discuss using the courts for public age is the CDPH guidelines for small gatherings for school-age students. So the limit right now is 14 students with potentially 2 adults for a total of 16 individuals. Those guidelines were released a week ago. And then we may also want to consider the phased-in play for youth that the CIF has put forward in partnership with CDPH, and that is a phased-in use of facilities for tennis. And the conditions for that are players can't share a ball, players need to use if they use a machine, singleton players can only use a machine. Players can volley, they can do drills against the wall. And then as we move into phase 2, which is, I believe, when we move out of the purple phase that Dr. Nicholas referred to earlier, there's still no sharing of balls. The player has to use their own ball. If players are playing singles, one against the other, they can't pick up the ball with their hand. They have to use the racket to pick up the ball and get the ball back into play. So that way there's no touching of the ball and sharing of the ball and touch by multiple players. These guidelines were given to the schools for small group conditioning and practice. We consulted Dr. Maggie Park on this topic, and she gave us the following guidance, and I'd like to read this verbatim because this is literally from her, verbatim from her. As for the use of the courts, County Council has said that each school district can decide on their own whether to make their spaces available. And so when tennis is played, the state states it can only be played as singles, which I've already reviewed, and then we have a link to that website. She further says that it's okay to go outside, walk, exercise, etc. I believe we all know that. And then she gave us another list of activities that can be played. Badminton of singles, throwing a baseball or a softball, biking, canoeing, crabbing, which I thought was really popular. I want to go do that. Cycling and exploring rock pools. Dr. Nicholas and I were going to go explore some rock pools here in the neighborhoods. But she gave us a nice list of other activities that can be done outdoors, healthy activities that our kids can participate in. So that concludes the information in my report. Any questions?
Yes, trustee Balzerini.
So just to confirm, from a governance and policy standpoint, we have a policy and a fee structure already in place, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, we do. And Associate Superintendent Harrison, I want to thank you for all of your work on this and gathering all of this information. While you were doing that, I was communicating with the person who emailed us, who seemed to be representing a bunch of people in the community, and come to find out that a significant part of what he was asking for was some sort of lessons or league play. So if they want to use our facilities, they can go through the facilities use process that we have set up. As far as my question about the possibility of opening it up for public use, reading in depth everything that you got from the county and the restrictions, we have no way of monitoring whose tennis balls they're using. Is the student, is a child touching only the balls that came out of the can that they used? We can't monitor that. So I'm very happy with the information that we have and suggesting that we just move forward with what we currently have. But that's just my opinion.
Have any groups approached the district about renting or running tennis programs at the high school?
Yeah, we've been contacted by Andy Sue, who is the tennis coach at the high school, about potentially having a shared use agreement with the tennis courts with the CSD to assist in the volume of individuals that want to use the tennis courts.
I've also been contacted, and it seems like there might be some interest of having an organized tennis time. So one person would run it, a group of people would be part of or an organizational structure. And that group might want to come in on Saturdays for 3 or 4 hours and have access to the courts. I don't know, they may or may not want to partner with the sports boosters and use it as a fundraising mechanism for the tennis program and things like that as well. So I think it seems to me there's a desire, but a non-specific set of plans related to, is this for kids? Is this for everyone? Is this a organization? Is this a league? So it's clear about what specifically different individuals are looking for. But I had also heard that that a potential period of time where a group of people who are into tennis would have access to the courts, again, related or not related to a school organization.
Trustee Balzerini.
That may be, all well and good, but we have a policy. I think we need to just follow the policy. Different versions of this committee has worked really hard on coming up with a fair and equitable process and standards and costs. And I think that we should just stick with what we have right now, personally.
I agree.
Well, I am certainly not in favor of opening the gates and letting whoever come whenever they want go in and play tennis. That facility cost the district a lot of money to build in the first place, and it's expensive to maintain. And I don't want to see kids riding bikes on there or skateboards or whatever else they might do if we just leave the gates open. So I would be open to a group coming forward with a proposal of something they wanted to run at the tennis courts and go from there. But that's my 2 cents. Further discussion?
Well, I want to thank the board for giving this consideration. And, yes, we have a policy, but I think it's sometimes when you get a request, you look at it and you may come to the same conclusion. And this time that's what's happened, but we are willing to listen.
Yeah, we're always willing to listen to proposals. And in fact, the policy withstanding, I think we would be willing to listen to a proposal from a group that wanted to run a program at the high school tennis courts that maybe didn't follow the policy that we have in place to the letter, but we need to hear a proposal.
Understood, sir.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Thank you for getting all the information for the staff work on this.
Yes, thank you, Associate Superintendent Harrison.
Thank you.
Item C, in-person board meetings. Does anyone have anything new on this? Yes, Trustee Balzerini.
If I could recommend to the board, maybe we take this off the agenda. I thought we had a discussion at our last meeting and decided that when in-person instruction resumes, that's when we'll resume our normal board meetings. Is that correct?
That would be fine to remove it from the agendas unless, tell you what, we will remove it from the agenda unless something new and germane to the discussion comes to light, and then we'll put it back on pending that
But
information.
just to confirm that we had consensus around that, with that when the students resume, we would also.
Yes, that was,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
and we did discuss the possibility of different social distancing mechanisms that we might put into place once that should occur, but you are correct. We did come to that consensus.
Mr. President, we did look into the plexiglass barriers, and we would be able to, with the help of Mr. Legrand, be able to create a counter-based plexiglass barrier that would create a blockage at the dais, if the board so chooses to have us do that. And the other thing is we have to put it to test, but we do also believe that there's a possibility. We're currently running this meeting off of 6 different monitors, and we think that we would be able to possibly have some board members remotely, like Zooming, and other members at the dais in person. We haven't put it to test, but we do have a new theory of action. So I was asked to look into those two things, and I wanted to let you know that we have progress.
Right.
So this would be a question for some experts in the area, of which I am definitely not one. And that is, if we have plexiglass in between us, so Trustee Balzerini sits on my left. If there's plexiglass between the two of us, and we know that COVID-19 travels in the air, and the air conditioning is on in the boardroom, is that plexiglass really protecting us from anything except for the COVID-19 that is transmitted on spittle? I get that part. But it also, from what I hear and read, that it's in the air, especially when air conditioning is on and it's moving it around. I could be off, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not an expert.
There are filters that you put in the air conditioning system that are supposed to limit all types of germs in particular, and also COVID. Not perfect, but we do have, according to Mr. Harrison, who's nodding at me.
So that's
I don't know the
assuming
name of
air
it,
that
but
I breathe out, and I don't know I'm carrying, I don't know I have COVID-19 because I'm asymptomatic. So I breathe it out and it goes through these HEPA filters before it reaches Trustee Bonilla. You see my point?
Oh, yeah.
I get it that we have filters and all of that. Maybe I'm probably asking the wrong people.
Well, I mean, the other option we have is that we all wear masks and then just remove it when we want to speak.
Yeah.
And it might be a combination of the two, having the plexiglass and wear masks other than when we speak. And I was watching the Tracy City Council meeting last night, and they all wore masks the entire meeting, even when they were speaking. So I guess if we can project our voices through the masks and the mics are able to pick them up clearly, then we can do that too.
Yeah, I'm just hyper concerned. I barely leave the house. You know, being over 60 and having asthma, I am ultra cautious.
And
So
Rightfully
go
so.
ahead.
So I wanted to thank district staff for looking into that. Whatever safety measures we can implement is great. I feel very strongly that before we expect teachers or students to go into a classroom, I wouldn't expect them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. And so I'm volunteering to be live, but by the same token, I stand in defense and support with board members that for various health reasons or family health reasons have special issues that don't feel comfortable with that. I support them as well. Because everyone has a different unique circumstance. Like Trustee Lampel, I totally support that she has special issues.
Age.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but I just wanted to make it clear that I feel strongly that before teachers and before we send teachers and students back into the classroom, I feel strongly that I should be in the boardroom, but I don't feel strongly that Sharon Lampel should, because she's got a different scenario than I do.
And to be fair, our teachers and students have that option as well.
I was going to say that also. Yeah.
Further discussion? Thank you all. Moving on to item D, summer school reports.
yes, we have Dr. Saylor who's going to present the ESY program, and Mr. Faubert who's going to zoom in and do the Mountain House High School update. I'm thinking are there two separates or are they one? Two separate. So we'll go with Dr. Saylor first and Mr. Faubert second.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board President, trustees. So I'm here to talk quickly about the extended school year program that we ran this year. And of course, due to COVID, everything was distance. And the program ran from May 27th through June 19th. So it was a little shorter than the high school summer school program. So as far as our staff, we had 4 staff members participating, 2 teachers, Janae Heinrich and Heather Pitcock, a speech pathologist, Danielle Haworth, and a paraprofessional, Erica Payne-Smith. So overall, we had 15 students with disabilities that participated in ESY. You can see the breakdown there of the grade levels. They were all preschool through 8th grade. None of the high school students chose to participate. And as far as the breakup of the classes between the 2 teachers, we did a preschool through 1st and then 2nd through 8th class. And of those 15 students there, 10 of them received speech therapy. Any questions?
Questions or comments by the board?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your report. Moving on to Principal Faubert, I presume.
Might be in the process of being invited in the room. Hold on, there he is.
There he is. At least the top of his head.
Yeah, Ben, you got to pull your screen down a little. There you go.
And you're on mute, Ben.
Hi, good evening, President Pombo, board members,
Welcome.
Superintendent Nicholas. Hopefully you can hear me. And first of all, I'd like to apologize for not being here at the last board meeting. That is unlike me. I'm usually at every single board meeting, and I'm going to blame it on the COVID and let you all know that I won't let that happen again. And I also want to thank you for allowing us to summer school program again. As you know, the high school summer school program is not something that's mandated by Ed Code. It is something that we dedicate general fund dollars to each year. And it is in support of our students who are both recovering credits, who may be behind because they've failed a class, or to recover from a poor grade that will allow them to become four-year college eligible. So I have a couple of slides tonight, and I can't see the slides. I just want to make sure.
Ben, give us a second.
Okay.
I'm just fixing something technologically here. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
We're plugging in the doohickey into the opening.
To the thingy.
Always with the technical terms, Dr. Nicholas.
Well, I read a lot of books about technology.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So just to give you a bit of an overview of summer school, this year we had 8 teachers, which is actually 2 more than we've had in the past. This year we added a counselor, a part-time counselor. We had a secretary and then myself as the administrator. One of the 8 teachers this year was Logan Loya, who has been helping out the last few years as an administrative intern, and he kind of did double duty this year as a teacher and helped out with some of the administrative duties again this year just to get more experience. This year it was fully online like in last year's, but different from this year. There were no in-person meetings due to the pandemic. It was 6 weeks, 4 days per week, Monday through Thursday. And the work was actually parsed out that way. So if students did all of the work that was required in the Edgenuity class on each of the 4 days, it should have taken them about 4 hours for 2 classes, or 2 hours per class. And if they worked 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, they should have been easily able to complete the class within the 6 weeks. Again, It is a credit recovery and college eligibility model, and only students had received a D or an F in those classes were eligible to enroll. And the reason for that is US and CSU and most four-year colleges across the nation will not accept repeat grades for anything above a D, and therefore our district policy is that we don't replace any grade that is above a D. So C's and above are not eligible for repeat at the high school level. And students actually had the opportunity to make up as many credits as they needed in the online courses, but typically 2 classes are the max during summer school. If they complete their 2 classes early enough, we do allow them to sign up for a third. And we did have one student this summer who was motivated enough to finish 4 classes this summer, which was commendable. Students were each assigned a summer homeroom teacher, similar to what we do during our regular year fully online program that tracks their progress in all of the classes. But we also make sure that we have enough teachers on staff to cover all of the instructional areas in case any students need tutoring or instruction during the summer school when they get stuck. Next slide, please. These are the course offerings that we offer during summer school. We don't offer a full complement of classes. We don't offer, visual and performing arts classes. Our CTE classes are not eligible for redo either. They're just, the courses that we offer are our general A through G, UC A through G requirements. And we use Edgenuity as our curriculum as we have for the past several years. Next slide, please. So this year's enrollment, summer school letters went out that were individualized for each student. They went out to each student to tell them which credits they needed to recover or that they were deficient in for UC-CSU entrance. We had 276 students enrolled in 381 semesters of credit. Some students had one semester course, some had 2. And again, we had one student who enrolled in 4 and completed those. 224 of that 276 earned at least 1 semester of credit, which is an 81% of students enrolled recaptured credit. I do have to say that in a regular school year, in a regular summer school, when students fall behind during their summer class, we have that extra ability to say to a student, hey, now you get to come in and sit inside the classroom and finish your online class so we can keep an eye on you. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that this year. So it was a decrease. Last year, we had 89% of our students who were enrolled recaptured some kind of credit. And this year it was a drop to 81. So it was a little bit of a disappointment. And we'll talk a little bit about how we followed up with those students, but it definitely was a drop. And then summer school students overall recaptured a total of 277 semesters of credit with a 72% recapture completion rate. Let's see. And then, like I said, the first one, 81% of students enrolled recaptured with a 72% recapture this year. Again, it was a drop from 81% last year. So 81 to 72% recapture completion rate. The last thing I'll mention is that we do have a number of students that are actually increasing as time goes by. Students who did not have the opportunity to participate in the accelerated math program, the 6-7 and 7-8 accelerated math program at the middle school, who still wanted to accelerate themselves. What we do is we allow those students to take not a credit recovery version, but a full version of Math 1 over summer school. And if they complete that, we call it the Math Summer Skipper course. If they complete that full class, then they are eligible to enroll in Math 2. That helps them to become eligible for the early college program if they were not able to do the accelerated math in middle school. Good news with this one this year. In the past, last year, the completion rate for our summer school students in the Skipper course was only 53%. This year, we had a 69% completion rate. We had 40 students finish with a B or higher. If they do not get a B in the skipper's course, we do not recommend and do not allow them to enroll in the next higher course, just because we don't believe that a C is good enough to continue on in that next level. And we really don't want this.
Ben, are you there?
Ben, are you there? Are any of the board members there?
Yes.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
there you go. You're back.
Okay, where did I cut off?
69% completion rate.
Okay, yeah, 69% completion rate. And we believe that, first of all, it's great news. And we believe that one of the reasons why we were able to have such a high completion rate is this year, after we sign kids up for that course, we typically sign them up in March, February or March, they identify themselves. And this year we opened the course at the end of March. So they had from the end of March all the way through the end of summer school at the beginning of July to complete, which we believe resulted in a higher completion rate. So we're going to continue doing that in the future. Next slide, please. So we did, let's see, that went backwards. Or did it? No, it didn't. We did send home invitations mailed through the United States Postal Service before, so that we made sure that we had all the kids that needed to recover credits go in there. We had a parent and student virtual orientation meeting that was fairly well attended. We had homeroom daily email updates, and due to the virtual nature of school, we were not able to require in-person attendance to intervene, which is why we believe numbers went down a bit. We did have teachers follow up with regular phone calls and emails when students were falling behind. Again, this year we had a counselor, and we actually had a counseling intern that worked the entire summer for free, which is nice, to kind of go make calls to those kids who were really falling behind. We had administrative follow-up and contact logs and daily participation logs, similar to what we're actually doing during this school year. Next slide. So just a couple of things that each year we try to look at what we did and how we can do it better. The first thing is we hope to resume the in-person support for students after the pandemic is over, to offer better monitoring and intervention with students. We like to have that mandatory attendance for the first week of school, and any student who is not on pace by the end of that week would continue face-to-face with us at school to make sure that they get their work done. We want to increase the opportunity for peer tutoring, to train those peer tutors and increase peer tutor support. We would like to continue that counselor support. We did hire again a part-time counselor this summer. It would be nice to get another intern as well to support. And then we would like to possibly, because we had so much success with our summer skipper course, to identify early in February or March who might need that additional class, and possibly tie it in with our credit recovery lab to start students on their summer school courses in March, ending that in July, so that we can get a jump on the summer school classes. That's a great opportunity for us, and we'll be taking a look at that. Next slide. And I believe that is it. Thank you so much again for letting us have the opportunity to do this. Quite frankly, I would tell you that our summer school allows us to have the graduation rate that we have, a very high graduation rate at the high school. Without summer school and the support of the board, we would not be able to do the things that we do for our kids. So any questions?
Trustee Lampel.
So you pointed out that the numbers went down from last year, the success numbers, but I think the numbers that you showed us are quite admirable during a pandemic. And I frankly would have expected the numbers to go down even more than that. So I think you and staff did a great job keeping that up and staying on top of the kids as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions for Principal Faubert?
I would just echo Trustee Lampel.
I'd also just like to reiterate the key point that in U.S. News and Reports top 10% rankings nationwide and statewide, Mountain House High School has been announced as a member of that exclusive club, and it's the board support and excellent leadership and follow through for staff and kids. So congratulations to all.
Thank you, Principal Faubert, and congratulations on that achievement. We're all very proud of the high school and the work that you guys do over there. Thank you. Moving on to item E, SDC small group instruction. I'm guessing we have
Dr. Saylor is already at the podium, sir.
very well. Welcome, Dr. Saylor.
Good evening again. So I'm here to talk and share with you some information regarding the California Department of Public Health's guidance related to cohorts. So the general guidance came out just recently. August 24th, CDPH issued the initial cohort guidance. They followed up September 4th with some clarification, as many public health officials and school districts were concerned that the cohort groupings would allow for districts and county offices that serve more significantly impaired students to actually provide those services. The initial guidance was 14 students and 2 adults, which would definitely limit your ability to support students in medically fragile or severely handicapped classes. So the new guidance is 16 total students, and or 16 total individuals, and that's a combination of all students and instructional staff. Those individuals may only interact with their particular cohort. They can't share cohort or run a hybrid model like we've discussed with some of our other programs. They just need to stay together. There is one difference to that. Preschool staff may oversee 2 cohorts as well as childcare staff, but that's not related to school. And one caveat is our related service providers, folks like our speech pathologists, school psychologists, occupational therapists. They can see students in multiple cohorts, but they really want to limit it down to individual interventions and practice appropriate safety protocols. So with the target groups, the state prioritized students with disabilities. I believe the advocacy groups really pushed on the state, given some of the significant challenges students with more significant disabilities faced in the spring. And there were some pretty unfortunate stories in the media about the lack of services that some students received. The other target groups are English learners, students at high risk of learning loss, students at risk of abuse or neglect, foster youth, and students experiencing homelessness. So with our focus, I'm looking at students with disabilities as that prioritized group, and looking at our most needy students, which would be our students in our special day class program. So in looking at our current class structures, possible cohorts could be an AM and PM preschool cohort, or we could do an alternating day, an A group, a B group, a 1-2 cohort, a 2-3 cohort, a 4-5 cohort, and those are all existing classes. And then a 6-8 cohort, which could also be a 6-7 cohort, or a 9-12 cohort, and possibly an 8-12 cohort. And the reason for that is the numbers in our cohorts, and this is based on some information collected last week. We do have a number of students that are signed up for LVLA that would continue to participate in that program. However, we also have a significant number of students that had chosen to go into the hybrid model. So based on the students in the hybrid model and the number of staff in the class, we would have cohorts of 9 and 11 at the preschool level, 11 in the K1, 14 in the 2-3, 15 in the 4-5, currently 16 in the 6H, which causes me some reservations when the next student moves in. And the high school would have 8. And so that's the idea of potentially moving those 8th graders into the high school class, which would then change that 6-7 cohort to 13 and the 8 to 12 cohort to 13 as well. All right, so the potential instructional model that I'm considering is in-person instruction similar to our current schedule. And so that would mean students would start in the morning and then go home around lunchtime. That way we'd be able to offer them take-home lunches as they leave. Students in LVLA would continue with the same schedule. And since we do not have enough teachers to support 2 separate programs, LVLA and in-person, the LVLA students would continue to be a participant group with that class. However, they would be 100% virtual. And this is similar to what our teachers currently do in their classrooms, breaking students into small groups and rotating through with staff providing intervention. And then out of abundance of caution, I'm suggesting that should we decide to do this, that we go back to 2 days of in-person instruction weekly, and then the other 2 days would be our current virtual instruction. And then Fridays would be an asynchronous day for all. And as Dr. Nicholas said previously, we are sending out surveys to parents, and that includes a special ed specific survey related to this potential small cohort model.
So next steps. So the next steps are we're going to build a plan that's coherent and has some logistics and some tortoise-like movement. And tortoise-like movement in that we're going to be very cognizant of what our students need when it comes to these individual groups. We're going to look at logistics in our systems and vet all of our cleaning procedures, how these students are going to enter the class, how they're going to enter the campus, etc., before we have any cohorts walk onto the campus. Our plan is to come to the board on October 7th with a plan, and then perhaps implement that plan by October 13th. And as we move forward in this plan and we get better and better at doing this with bringing these small groups onto campus, we'll expand into other cohorts as needed. Students that Dr. Saylor mentioned, such as EL students, homeless students, or potentially students that need intervention on the school site campus. And then the county will watch those schools that went out with waivers and see what they're doing, see what they do well, see if they have any trip ups, and if they do, we want to learn from those folks that went out early so that we have a cogent plan when we decide to bring more students onto campus to get them into our schools and potentially move on to the hybrid model. Any questions? She's muted.
Sharon, you're on mute.
You're muted, Sharon.
Thought I undid it. Thank you. I'm a little concerned about the preschool model with the teachers seeing 2 cohorts, just the way they do in a normal day, but we're not in normal circumstances. And if the board remembers what we adopted on the blended program of having full days instead of AM, PM, one of the concerns was that we didn't have the confidence that would give staff enough time to effectively clean the classroom. Now we're talking about preschoolers who touch everything. Even that, I think that would require even more cleaning than a regular classroom. So I'm a little uncomfortable with the teachers doing the 2 cohorts. Was the plan to do AM, PM like the regular program?
So the AM/PM cohort was a suggestion that came out with the revised guidance that allowed for preschool to see 2 different cohorts. I can tell you that when I met with staff, one of their suggestions was alternating days, and this would allow for more sufficient cleaning of the materials in the preschool class, because yes, you're right, they touch everything, and some of them like to taste everything as well. And so that would be a more likely scenario than an AM/PM model, my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I agree.
I would be more comfortable with an alternating day than AM/PM for that very reason. Further questions or comments by the board? Yes.
I just wondered the rationale behind the 2 days of in-person instruction versus 4 days of in-person instruction for the older students, not the preschoolers, but the other students.
So my rationale behind that is one, to be cautious, 2, to ensure that we have proper cleaning protocols that are being implemented, and that we're not creating situations for ourselves. As soon as I believe that we could set up established protocols and feel comfortable with it, the idea would then be to move forward to a 4-day model.
If I could piggyback on what Trustee Bonilla just brought up. So if we're thinking of our students who receive special education services, wouldn't it be the same group of kids in the classroom regardless of how many days? Or is the alternating days idea with 2 different groups of kids?
No, the alternating days idea, well, for preschool would be with 2 different groups of kids.
Right, preschool aside.
Right, the 2-day-a-week initial model is just to ensure that our logistics are effective. But yes, you're correct. It would have been the same group of kids that would have been in class together 4 days a week or 5 days a week in a blended model.
Then I'm not seeing the purpose of the 2 days either.
I guess it would basically be to mimic the hybrid, at least to start until everything can be established as running smoothly, and then move into the 4 days a week. Is that correct?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would mimic the hybrid model.
I want to hear what Trustee Bonilla has to say. She's my special ed expert.
Well, my concern is that those are the most needy students, and the students who are the furthest behind, and the students who are least likely to have to be able to access services, because they're already going to be needing to have some of that on-campus time to see their support services like speech or OT. So that'll reduce their classroom time even further. So I'm just not seeing the point of reducing their time in the classroom when they're the only cohort in the classroom. So the germs are going to be theirs. I'm just not seeing that as a benefit, I guess.
So currently, most of the related services are provided in the afternoon. We do have a couple whole class push-ins where the speech path is going in and doing language lessons for the entire class. But the bulk of the actual service delivery is primarily in the afternoon.
I'm still concerned about this. We're bringing these students back before everyone else because they are our neediest students, and they have probably fallen behind the most because many of them are probably struggling with online. If I'm not a visual learner, distance learning is going to be very difficult for me. So if we're bringing them back early, why would we be mimicking what we're doing with other students, which we're not doing with other students yet? We're bringing these kids back first.
So
I'm with Trustee Bonilla. I just don't see why we wouldn't bring them back for 4 days. It's still not a 5-day week.
So one of the purposes of the presentation was to present some ideas and get the board's feedback on what our rough plans are at this point. There still are some more details that need to be worked through, but given that other districts are already bringing their kids back, the county office is going to have students on our campuses in right after October break, I thought it was pertinent to share some early thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know we want to do this soon. I know, for example, Turlock brought their special ed kids back last week. So I know we want to get our our needy kids back in
Mhm.
school ASAP. I am all for that.
So what I'm hearing board direction is that when we put together the details of the plan, that we want to be more aggressive in the amount of days, which means that we have to be tighter with the logistics, and that the slow ease, the cost benefit analysis of a slow ease, the cost is too much on the side of student learning loss, and therefore the board wants us to consider a more aggressive approach to the amount of days the kids are in class.
I think that would be correct. You could always have them come Monday, Tuesday, clean Wednesday, have them come back Thursday, Friday, if you're that concerned about the cleaning. But I think at this point, those students need the most support. So I think we should err on the side of more education provided than less. That's just my opinion.
And they're only coming for a half day, right? That's the plan?
Correct.
I will side with trustee Bonilla and trustee Lampel's assertion that we should try to get our special ed kids back in the classroom as soon and as often as possible. Further comments by the board?
Yeah, they clearly know more than I do on that, so I'll side with them as well.
Trustee Balzerini, do we have consensus on that?
You already have consensus. That's fine.
All right. Just want to know if you had an opinion. Thank you, sir. So you are, Dr. Nicholas, you have the consensus of the board on that. Thank
Correct.
you.
We're going to bring back a more aggressive in-person instructional model, get tight with our logistics quicker, and present the plan according to the timeline we presented. And hopefully on the 13th, we roll it out. October.
Thank you.
Will we
Item-
have any busing issues? Because I know some special ed kids are bused. With the
Dr.
outside
Saylor is
organization.
saying no.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on to item F, ADA hold harmless. Staff report?
Trustee Balzerini's access to important players in the state legislature presented us an opportunity to defend the honor of the district in terms of hold harmless. Trustee Balzerini and I, Dennis Myers, what is his official title, Trustee Balzerini?
The Assistant Executive Director of Governmental Relations.
Translation is he gets in the room and he talks for us. And two attorneys representing the Educational Legal Alliance on last Thursday met and had a discussion. Matt, do you want to lay out what happened? Or Trustee Balzerino, sorry.
Yeah. There's still a lot to be learned about this, and it sounds like they don't believe that the legal route is the route to go. They think that we should continue to work with our legislators, which we are. And we're going to talk about this during this meeting on the 29th as well, and get access to our legislators and see if we can pound the drum some more, because I think that's going to be the best way that we can resolve this issue. Unless you interpret anything differently there, Dr. Nicholas.
And the only other thing is they felt that a lawsuit under an equal protection constitutional argument would end up in a winner-loser black and white answer, which is the losers would become the winners and the current winners, which are the funded districts, would become the losers. There wasn't a way legally they thought that we could get the money that we should be getting without creating that harm. And as a result, they didn't think it was viable. A lawsuit would be viable.
Trustee Balzerini, if there are some particular lawmakers you'd like us to reach out to, if you could provide me some names for that, I'd be interested in doing a little bit more drum beating for our team.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Trustee Balzerini, if you could forward that information to the entire board, maybe we can all beat the drum together.
Of course, and maybe it's time to draft letters from the board to our local legislators about it.
Yes, I think so.
Agreed. Further discussion? Moving on to calendar, item 11. Thursday, September 24th, 2020 is next virtual facilities committee meeting at 6:30. Wednesday, October 7th is the next virtual board meeting. Wednesday, October 21st is the next virtual wellness committee meeting. And Thursday, October 22nd is the next virtual DLAC committee meeting at 6:30. In just a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will discuss public employee discipline dismissal release complaint, Government Code 54957, conference with legal counsel anticipated litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9B, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8, and consider approval of a long-term leave of absence for a classified employee. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
I think Matt got it by a hair. Having a first and second student preferential vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned to closed session. We will resume closed session after a short 5-minute break. Thank you. Returning to open session at 8:58 p.m. Closed session item D, consider approval of long-term leave of absence for classified employee 124737 from September 25th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Board took action on a motion by Trustee Balzerini and seconded by Trustee Bonilla to approve long-term leave of absence for certificated employee 124737 from 9/25/20 to 6/30/21 by a vote of 5 ayes, no nays. Thank you.
We amend that to say classified employee?
Oh, it does. I apologize if I skipped over the classified. It does say classified employee. Oh, it says it classified in one place and
Yeah.
certificated in another. So it
Okay.
does need to be corrected. All right. Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I think we got Matt first and we'll call Colin's motion the second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you all.